Spam those W's. How you doing, all you amazing Mets fans, Yankee fans, whoever you're a fan of? It's your boy Wardy, and we're back at it with the latest New York Metropolitan postgame segment as Jake Diekman just took down Aaron Judge and the Yankees. Yes, that's an actual sentence. Yes, I'm not bluffing. The Metsies take game one of a two-game set. Their second Subway Series here against the Yanks. They take the first three against those Bronx Bombers by a final score of 3-2. The Mets offense had absolutely nothing to show today. If you're not named Jeff McBombs himself, who looks like the latest power hitter to enter this Metropolitan lineup, comes at a good time, not complaining there. We're going to break down to a T everything that transpired in this matchup between the Mets and the Yankees. We're going to go into things inning by inning as we always do. We got some huge updates on unfortunate news with Christian Scott, some positive news for Jackie Bradley Jr., and some key updates as well on the prospect front for Drew Gilbert, Brett Beatty, who isn't a prospect, but you know what I'm trying to say there, and a bit on the bullpen front. And we are going to take a look at the masterful outing that was Jose Quintana, pitching exactly how I want this man to pitch tonight. We're going to get into more on Jose and what works so well. Don't let those 5 walks come off and deceive you. He had himself a solid outing, to say the least. On the hitting end, again, bases loaded situations. The Mets simply did not know what to do there. Let's break it down together to an absolute T, as we always do, everybody. Shout out to all my amazing live viewers watching live on a replay. First chiming in, smash that like and subscribe button for your boy. Greatly appreciate it, as we're about to break down all the latest here in Metsland. Yoshima with the $2 house says, Jake Diekman owns Aaron Judge. Who says no? For someone who has been as against Jake Diekman as I have, I was absolutely fuming to see Jake Diekman in the 9th inning. You're telling me we're going to throw out that schmuck of a southpaw to face Soto, to face Judge in a 1-out save situation, and you still win the ball game? Wow. We got a lot of breakdown. We got a lot to get into. Ronnie Rich with a $2 holla. Deke took a Duke on Judgy. Love the wordplay. Thank you so much for the donation there. Folks, you gotta let it rip. Spam those W's in the comments down below in the chat. As always, everybody. Or did we have a cup of... No pops tonight, Pat. We're just juiced up. You want to know why we're juiced up? Because we're juiced up after a Metropolitan victory over those Yanks. We will always take that. For those that are wondering, where's my boy Patrick Hennessy, my co-host of Bridging the Gap podcast, or he's a diehard Yankees fan that a lot of you guys hate and absolutely love to rag against when the Yanks aren't doing well. Pat will hopefully be joining me tomorrow. Unfortunately, was really busy with work today. If you guys know Pat, that you know he's a full-time editor, so he was beyond busy today. Unfortunately, could not get him in. We'll already canceled that prior to the game even starting today. So anyone that thinks that Pat's ducking, he's not. If the Mets win tomorrow and we get him on, you guys can let it rip as much as you want, as you typically will do. Ryan with the $5 holla. Thank you so much. Holla, suck it, Yanks. I love GM. Oh, I love that, Ryan. Thank you so much for that, my man. We're going to get into, again, everything in this matchup, folks, but let's just take a moment to kind of have a deep breath, right? You know, that was a very stressful end to the ball game. If it is not a sweaty victory for the Amazons, it's not a victory at all, because the Mets do something probably better than any other team in Major League Baseball right now, and that's when it comes to victories, they'll win plenty, but they're going to win tight ball games. Mind you, this is also the same Mets team that absolutely went bananas in their miserable month of May. They had a lot of those losses by 1 or 2 runs, so this Mets team has pretty much been in the ball game for the vast majority of baseball games they have been in this season. The good news, they have very much been afloat as a playoff caliber team. Now, 4 games above 500, still in that wild card spot, riding high, rocking it, and doing it well. However, for the Mets to continuously go out there and have these bullpen issues, or an offensive low that you had today, where no one knew how to hit a lick with runners in scoring position, unless your name was Jeff McNeil itself. Again, we're going to talk a bit about Jeff and my frustrations with him this season versus what is going on with him now, and how sustainable, if at all, is this with McNeil and his success. We're going to get into it. Ryan, again, thank you for that donation. Greatly appreciate that. Billy Dottie with a $2 holla says, ladies and gentlemen, cold-blooded Jake. Yes, cold-blooded Jake Diekman. For Diekman, says Ray with a $2 holla. Thank you so much for that, Ray. Greatly appreciate that. Drew with the $2 holla says, Bader is the worst base runner I've ever seen. Bader drives me up a wall. Yes, I am apt. If I was in Mendoza's shoes, I would have gave Bader an earful, to say the least, after after somehow getting caught between second and third there when the Mets absolutely could have used an insurance run. Thankfully, all the problems the Mets had today, it did not come back to bite them in the ass because they still won this game. However, it's not ideal how they won this ball game, and that in itself is not sustainable. We're going to get into, again, everything that transpired, any by any, in said matchup. But you guys and gals know the drill by now. Let's let it rip as we always do with the one, the only, WardyNYM post-game jingle. Shout out to my guys, Greg and Jordan, with the official WardyNYM post-game jingle. As always, shout out to Steve with the $2 holla. Thank you so much for that, Steve. Hope you're having a fantastic evening. Great friend here on the channel. Charlie, great member. I see you in the chat. Charles, great member. Rebecca, let's get the roll call going, baby. We got James, Rebecca, Daniel Caps, Billy Dottie that we discussed earlier in the show, Steve Lawn, if I didn't mention you, but I know I did already, Carlos, Vincent, everybody and your mother. Happy to have you in here, folks. Now let's break down this Mets team victory. We're almost at 100 likes. Thank you so much for that. Continue to smash those buttons, but I want to hear from you amazing Mets fans. How are we feeling after a ball game like that one? A sweaty victory yet again here, this time against the big bad boppers in the Bronx you call the New York Yankees. The Yankees lose. How to do my best Big Poppy impression. I know it'll never be remotely as good as the man himself, but your boy's gonna try here as a short schmucks rambling, talking about a Metsian victory. Scott Greenwald with the $5 holla. Scott says that game had a playoff feel. Clutch pitching, one big hit wins the game. So much fun. Question with Scott out. What's the plan for the rotation? Great question, Scott Greenwald. Talking about Scott, that being Christian Scott, who now is gonna be on the shelf on the 15-day injured list with, unfortunately, a UCL strain. Not ideal. Clearly, this is at least a partial tear to his UCL. Now next steps is really going to figure out, is he going to need season-ending surgery to reconstruct that UCL, or are they going to go down a different avenue, say a shot or something along those lines, similar to maybe what Garrett Cole went through earlier this year with his inflammation? We'll soon find out what happens on that front, but in the meantime, Christian Scott, yes, he doesn't look like a guy that's going to be impacting the rotation again anytime soon, and yes, this does impact the Mets' plans to both buy and sell the trade deadline, as latest reports per Andy Martino, yes, I know we all love Andy, said absolutely nobody, did state the following earlier today, that the Mets are now expected to keep all their starting options barring any changes from now until the deadline, and they may potentially be adding, so we'll see what happens there. Certainly we'll be adding on the bullpen front, to say the least. Thank you so much for the $20 holla. Billy Dottie says, in all seriousness, we handed this game to the Yankees on a silver platter, but somehow, some way, we still win the game. There are still serious issues with this team, and it all seems mental. Tyrone Taylor Bader, what the fuck was that? I know, and apologies again, earmuffs, kiddos. We're gonna get in Tyrone Taylor and Harrison Bader and their mental hiccups that they had today. Yes, this was a ball game where Carlos Mendoza had to have a bulldog mentality. He had to trust his gut in this one, and I will give credit where credit's due. Outside of Adam Ottavino being absolutely useless in yet again the latest outing here, this Mets pitching staff got the job done, and the formula to get the job done was brilliant. This was exactly what I wanted to see from Jose Quintana, and also what we saw from Jake Diekman was ballsy as all hell to walk Soto, then to face Judge, but shit, it worked, so we're not going to complain about it right now, are we? I am obsessed with how well Jose Quintana pitched, exactly how he needed to pitch to this Yankees lineup that was top heavy. If you weren't Aaron Judge, if you weren't Juan Soto, you were pretty much a nobody in this matchup, and this was a good example of exactly that. But let's talk about it now, everybody. Let's break down this ball game inning by inning, as we always do, and then after we break down the ball game inning by inning, we'll get into a little bit more on the pitching end. Again, our key standouts with Jose Quintana and the remainder of this 4 to 5 reliever bullpen utilized today. A lot of arms had to be used, which definitely sucks. It is what it is. And then on the offensive offensive end, if I didn't mention that already. Let's see here. Member of 31 months. How are you, Kish? As always, almost 400 here, only 82 likes. Show some love. Thank you so much for that, Kish. You guys heard the drill. You heard it from Kish. Great member, OG here on the WardyNYM platform himself. If he says you guys got to go hammer the likes, then you got to go hammer the likes. But let's break down this masterful ball game for the Mets where it was anything but masterful, I should say, but the pitching, oh baby, the pitching. Let's talk about it. All right, everybody, again, we had on the bump, soft-tossing southpaw Jose Quintana looking for a bounce-back start after giving up 5 over 5 his last time out there. This time does not have Francisco Alvarez as his backstop. It is Luis Torrens. How would Torrens fare with Alvarez when Alvarez has otherwise thrived with Quintana for the majority of the season? Thankfully, the results would be quite sharp, and we're going to get into all this, so let's break it down here. LT Cherno, thank you so much with a $2 holla, says, Jake Dogman said, hit the showers, baby. LFGM, thank you for the donation. Really appreciate that, Cherno. Great member. He said, hit the showers indeed. Absolutely nuts. All right, guys, let's kick things off, and then after I break down the ball game, I'll get into more updates on guys like Jackie Bradley Jr., Sean Reed-Foley, among others. I just want to break down this ball game now. Starts in the first. We see Luis Gil have a 1-2-3 start. Mind you, the first half of this ball game was very much in line with other Metsian victories that we have had this season. What I mean by that is the Mets did absolutely nothing for basically the first half of the ball game, but by the time we got to the 5th, 6th inning, and once Luis Gil was pretty much out of this ball game, good things started to happen. Again, is it a recipe for success? Is it a recipe to have great success when you need it most down the stretch in the playoffs against good starting pitching? No, it is not. However, that was the formula in essence for the Mets' success today, because they had nothing on the offensive end in the early goings against Gil. In the bottom of the first, Judge gets on with a walk. Then we see J.D. Davis, thankfully, continuing to show his appreciation for the New York Mets, helping them out the same way he did last time these two teams matched up a Subway Series ago. Remember when J.D. Davis made his Yankee debut against the Mets and he was absolutely horrendous that entire series? Well, thankfully, fast forward weeks later, J.D. Davis is continuing to be the J.D. Davis of old here as he strikes out on a soft tosser by Jose Quintana to end the inning. So again, escape the little jam there for Jose as we then head to the top of the second. Gil with a 1-2-3 second, not ideal. In the bottom of the second, we see Gleyber Torres rip a home run because of a meatball first pitch fastball by Mr. Jose Quintana. Yeah, when you're going to eat a lot of plate like that, even a schmuck of a second baseman in Gleyber Torres is going to make something happen. Yes, today was the battle of really the has-beens this season up until the past week in power between Gleyber Torres and Jeff McNeil, two guys that were once the face of New York baseball at the second base position. Now far from it. However, Jeff McHits, more like Jeff McBombs, is doing all he can to not only sway fans again, including myself, but get back on the right side of this Mets team and this Metropolitan offense. Because as we continue to break down this ball game again, we see Torrens get on, pardon me, I'm going ahead of myself here. We see nothing transpire in the bottom of the second, thankfully, because after that meatball of a home run that we saw, fastball thrown to Gleyber Torres, it's 1-0 Yankee lead. Verdugo gets on with a walk. DJ LeMahieu with the 500 OPS somehow gets on with a single, and then Jones strikes out to end the inning. So thankfully, Quintana works himself out of his jam. However, it wasn't unscathed, giving up that leadoff first pitch home run there in the second of Gleyber Torres. Mets down a run as we head to the third, and in the third, Luis Torrens, former Yankee turned Met, who's been one of, if not the best backup catcher in all Major League Baseball over the past month plus. Torrens gets on with a walk. Taylor then strikes out a slider down the pipe looking. Terrible at bat there by Tyrone Taylor. He can be frustrating at times. The guy, if he's not getting fastballs, he just doesn't know what to do sometimes. And this was a good example of exactly that. Then with 2 outs, Lindor rips his 27th double of the season. Mets have runners at second and third here with 2 out. What does Brandon Nimmo do? Nimmo sadly grounds out to end the inning. This was just one of many examples that we saw in this ball game of the Mets not executing with runners on and runners in a situation where they can finally pound and get some runs going. Simply didn't do it tonight. Not nearly enough. Edward with the $5 donation says, don't pitch to Judge. Severino, thanks. Seriously. Yeah, do not pitch to Aaron Judge. Do not pitch to Juan Soto. And what did I say in our pregame segment today earlier, folks, that I then cropped to just speaking about Kristen Scott's injury? Check that short stream out pregame if you haven't already, folks. I said Jose Quintana, in order to have success today, needs to mandatory walk one of Juan Soto or Aaron Judge, if not both, every single at-bat tonight. At least one of them every single time. And that's exactly what happened for Jose Quintana and Aaron Judge. And it worked. The recipe for success works. When you have a two-headed monster in an otherwise very underwhelming lineup, it's easy to target those guys, just let them get their base and take that risk of a potential leading to a run thanks to an extra base hit or a home run, whatever it might be. Mets here, as I mentioned, are down 1-0 in this ball game. As we head to the bottom of the third, Judge gets on with a walk, because of course he does, and JD Davis continues to help out the Mets, this time with an inning-ending double play. Shout out JD Davis for being absolutely useless here for the Yanks. I'm not trying to be too hard on the guy, because there were moments, it feels like yesterday in 2019, when I was crying for JD Davis to start every day at the hot corner over Todd Frazier, even with how bad his defense was, because I saw JD hit not one but 2 home runs at Citi Field, which was pretty freaking sick for like his first home runs at Citi Field, along with Pete Alonso hitting his first home run at Citi Field. That was an electric game. Mets beat the Nationals. Michael Conforto and Robinson Cano went back-to-back on home runs. And I want to say that was a game that Steven Strasburg started, crazy enough. Either Strasburg or Corbin. And that was also the year the Nats somehow won it all. Actually, that's an even more insane thought, thinking about that. All right, let's reel back in. That's Wardy Tangent. That's what we're going to get. Professional Certified Hater, thank you so much for the $5 holla. He says, meet, and I quote, Mr. Low Leverage, Aaron Judge, clutch hits, X, home runs down, 5. Yep, check. Hit the Astros, nope. 1,000 plus OPS versus the A's, yep. World Series appearance, nope. Hit 1 for 17 in the ALCS. Holy shit, you really lived up to the name. Great supporter here of the channel. Professional Certified Hater. Just went full-fledged hating tonight on Aaron Judge, the best bopper of a home run hitter currently in the bigs. I'm here to support Wardy Mets channel, even though I am a Braves fan. I appreciate that, Donta. Thank you very much, my man. Speaking of the Braves, cannot wait for that Braves-Mets series this weekend. Oh, baby, that's going to be a doozy. But what's also a doozy is the Mets winning a ball game. So let's reel back into this one, because as we get to the top of the fourth, Heel has himself yet again another 1-2-3 inning. And then we see in the bottom of the fourth, Volpe gets on with a single. Remember when Yanks fans were claiming Lindor is better than Volpe? They've been awfully quiet the past 3 months. I wonder why. Almost like you should read into more than just April, you dumb schmucks. Volpe with a single. He gets to second base somehow, thankfully, because for his sake and not for the Mets' sake, a wild pitch was thrown there by Quintana. Torres with a walk. Verdugo with a sac bunt. So runners are moved over in scoring position. But afterwards, Narvaez with a strikeout. No, not Omar. This time, Carlos Narvaez. Yes, backup catcher for the Yanks right now. Not Omar, but Carlos. He strikes out and nothing else transpires. A ground out later does it as not Omar Narvaez, Jose Quintana escapes the jam. As we then head to the top of the fifth, the Mets start to get something rolling, and Jeff McNeil rips a single. Then we see Torrens rip a single on base for the second time today, the former Yankee now foe for them. Taylor gets on with a single. Should have been a 2-run double, if not at least a 1-run double. However, piss poor base running awareness by Jeff McNeil, sadly, as they're rounding second, going to third. Torrens, again, is right behind Jeff because Jeff waited. Jeff thought that ball was going to be caught. They did not read it properly. Torrens read it entirely the entire time. Literally, if Jeff just continued to roll, both runs would have scored there. However, instead, it's bases loaded for the Mets in this situation, with Tyrone Taylor probably getting the deepest single that you'll ever see at the major league level. So we got bases juiced here in the fifth inning. The Mets are trying to pounce, and they pounce in a Jose Iglesias way by getting hit by the pitch. This time, it's Francisco Lindor driving in the run via that way. He takes a heater right on the elbow end, which is very unfortunate. Not loving to see that whatsoever. Thankfully, Lindor is okay and would stay in the game, and he ate that hit by pitch like the absolute bulldog of a bad mofo that Francisco Lindor, Cisco Bombs, is. No less, afterwards, we see Lindor against Hyatt with the hit by pitch. Nimmo strikes out. Brandon Nimmo struck out 14 times over his past what feels like not even 30 at-bats. It has not been ideal lately for Brandon Nimmo at the plate. Just swinging and missing quite a bit here, especially to kick off the second half of the season. And then afterwards, JD Martinez sadly flies out shallow enough, and that does it, folks. The Mets do not score. They leave bases loaded, stranded with less than 2 outs. And the worst part of it all, this wasn't the last time it happened tonight. And to add insult to injury, Luis Gil did not have his slider working. He did not have nearly enough bite in that inning. However, the Mets did absolutely nothing to take advantage of the opportunities the Yankees found themselves giving to the Metsies here. We then get on to the 6th inning, everybody. And the 6th inning, Michael Tonkin comes in. And actually, before we get to the 6th inning, let's talk about the bottom of the 5th here, if I didn't mention that already. Because in the bottom of the 5th, we would see the final inning of work for Jose Quintana. He walks Aaron Judge, and then he strikes out J.D. Davis once again to end the inning. Jose Quintana's final line, folks, is as follows. 5 innings of 3-hit, 1 earned run ball, 5 walks, 6 strikeouts, and just over 4 ERA for the veteran southpaw. Let me know on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate Jose Quintana's outing tonight? 5 strong innings here with a game plan of working around Aaron Judge here, pounding the zone and getting some nice work against Juan Soto, getting those outs. For both those guys to not get one single hit today is a huge plus, and a huge shout out to the pitching approach by Carlos Mendoza, Jeremy Hefner, Jose Quintana, Luis Torrens, and everyone else involved tonight. Let me know on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you grade and rate Jose Quintana's outing? Speaking of amazing people, that is Jose Quintana's outing today, let's talk about AZ. AZ, great member of the chat, says, thank you, Yanks, for putting a trash can at cleanup, you freaking schmucks. Volpe is better than Lindor. I don't think so. Mets W, put it in the books. Put it in the books, baby. Hype me up. We absolutely love to see that. AZ is getting the juices going. Great member as always. We're absolutely riding high after a Metsian victory, even if it wasn't a pretty one. If it's against the Yanks, it's always a good thing. Let's see here. Priest on a plane. How are you, my man? Happy to have you in here. Hope all's well. Shout out Dave, great member. Keto, great member. Kish, great member. All you guys, happy to have all you amazing Mets fans in here. If you're watching live here on Twitter, make sure that like, that follow button, that retweet button. But please know that, as always, I will only be breaking things down with my live viewers here on YouTube. So if you want to interact with me, have back and forth in the chat, make sure you're chiming in on YouTube in case you guys and gals aren't already, and hit that like and subscribe button. Help us get to 150 plus likes by the end of the live show. Greatly appreciated. My hundreds of viewers right now, 1,400 concurrent right now between YouTube and Twitter. You guys are amazing, and help us get to 26,000 subscribers for our next short-term goal. We're just a couple hundred away. Help us get there, baby. Thank you so much again in advance. Josh with the $5 donation says, Diekman couldn't be in a more stressful moment and managed to clutch that. I hope he uses this moment and gains a lot of confidence. I pray that Jake Diekman proves my ass and many other Mets fans you know what's wrong, because I've been so against Jake Diekman for the vast majority of the season. This is a guy that has gotten bailed out more often than not because of his contract and because of the Mets' lack of ability to have a competent southpaw of a reliever in their bullpen since Brooks really went down with injury. Jake Diekman has been absolutely horrendous in many stretches this season, but he was far from horrendous tonight. He was exactly what the Mets need him to be, and for that, I greatly appreciate that. And as I always say, everybody, this goes for Jeff McNeil, this goes for anyone else that I've heavily critiqued this season. I'm simply critiquing you because I expect more out of you, and we know that you're a better player than what you're showing. I'm going to heavily critique you because I'm always a team-first guy. I want my team to succeed first and foremost. However, I always want the players on the field to succeed no matter who they are, no matter my personal opinion of them. Jake Diekman coming out there had me nervous as all hell, but the last thing I ever wanted to see was for him to blow the save. Obviously, I'm a diehard Mets fan. I want to see them succeed. So thank you, Jake Diekman and Jeff McNeil, for being the two X factors. Crazy to say this if we look back a month ago, that these two guys would amount to a key win over the Yankees in a Subway Series matchup. Yet here we are, because that's baseball, baby. And speaking of baseball, let's reel back into this one and break down this 3-2 victory for the Metsies here. And how we do that is the following, by getting into, again, everything that transpired in the 6th inning. Because in the 6th inning, this is where we start to see some fun offense by the Mets. And it's thanks to a former Met, now friend again, and Michael Tonkin. Remember him? Michael Tonkin, after being picked up by the Yankees after the Mets dropped him for a second time this season and was with the Twins for one measly game, Tonkin has had a sub-2 ERA with the Yankees in over 30 outings at least this season. Yes, you heard that correctly. Michael Tonkin has been a dog because he has thrown away the sinker, has been more of a fastball heavy pitcher, has had success with that. The Yanks are always great with their bullpen turnouts every single year. However, not tonight, as a former Met would be batting practice thanks to Pete Alonso ripping a double, and then Jeff McBombs driving him. Jeff McNeil is now ripped. Yes, you heard this correctly, everybody. 4 home runs in his past 5 games. 4 home runs to kick off the All-Star break, and I truly believe Daniel Murphy had something to say about this. Let's not forget the conversation that Murph had with McNeil, an extensive talk recently when Murphy was with the Mets doing play-by-play coverage for them. It was an awesome time there in the SNY booth. But McNeil, who again is the Daniel Murphy Murphy is what Jeff McNeil is to the Mets. Murphy was prior to Jeff. He was, in a lot of ways, a very similar player, had more power, but was known for that great contact ability until the second half of his career, 2015, postseason run. Washington Nationals being the Mets' biggest villain imaginable. Rest is history. Daniel gave some great pointers and tips to Jeff, and it's a further example of why guys like Danny Barnes and Eric Chavez are just doing such little, it feels, for the Mets in their hitting approach. I hope I'm wrong, but between JD Martinez and now Daniel Murphy, you might as well just hire the former Mets or even the current Mets to handle things on the hitting end, because Jeff McNeil now looks like a power hitter, which is absolutely insane. And you want to know the craziest part about Jeff McNeil's success that he's currently having lately? Jeff McNeil's having success in a way that I do deem is sustainable, not so much on the ability to hit home runs at a ridiculous rate. Four and 5 games is amazing, but what is certainly possible is Jeff's ability to not only have a better eye at the plate, but to be able to go more gap to gap. He is now ripping these that he's normally poking, right? He's just usually trying to slap to go oppo. McNeil has needed to adapt and fine-tune his game in 2024 MLB because it is not the same as it was in 2022, nor is it the same as it was in the juice ball era in 2019 when he had plenty of success as well. Jeff needs to adapt his game to be more than just a slap hitter, because the slap hitting is not getting the job done. If you can have the ability to go gap to gap, grind out, actually have some quality at bats and find your pitches, Jeff looks more level-headed with his swing right now. There's more power behind it, and there's a happiness level that we haven't seen from Jeff like all season long. That's something that needs to be accounted for a guy that clearly feeds off of his emotions, similar to Pete Alonso in his own right there. So for Jeff, I hope and pray this continues, because this is a guy that I've spoken heavily against all year long. Not at a personal level. I love Jeff. I have no ill will with him. This is a guy that literally, he invited me to his charity event last year. I had a chance to be there, represent the platform, interview him. It was a great time, but unfortunately for Jeff, he has just had a ridiculously frustrating past year and a half now. But for him, he's finally starting to get himself in a groove. And look, I'm not expecting home runs every time out there, but I am hoping that this can lead to more confidence and more continued success for Jeff. That is what we need from him, should he continue to get the playing time that he's finding himself getting right now. But speaking of the Mets here, they take a 3-1 lead thanks to that 2-run shot there by Mr. Jeff McBombs in the 6th. Then we get on now. We fast forward a little bit, and nothing happens in the bottom of 6th. At least that hurts the Mets. Volpe gets on with a Actually, I'm an idiot. I'm completely wrong there. I forgot to document this part. Volpe did get on with a single that we saw because Adam Ottavino came in of relief for Jose Quintana. And then we see a double by Alex Verdugo, who's 20th of the year, opposite field, drives in a run. It's a 1-run ball game, and that pretty much does it then for Mr. Adam Ottavino. We're already fed up. We're like, are you kidding me, Adam? Literally, all you had to do was just give us a clean 6th inning, and he couldn't do that for us as he continues to labor big time, the former Yankee turned New York Metropolitan over the past couple years. And then we see pinch hitter Austin Wells comes in. He replaces Carlos Narvaez, and then Alex Young comes in to replace Adam Ottavino. Alex Young, the southpaw the Mets acquired from the Giants organization that we did a video on that blew up the past couple days. Check it out if you haven't already. I told you guys Alex Young would be called up in the coming days. That has happened with Christian Scott being put on the injured list, and Alex Young also was able to do something brilliantly. What he was able to do was strand the runner at third base, because Alex Wells flies out, which then allows Alex Verdugo to get to third base, but he gets a key ground out on DJ LeMahieu to end the inning and leave that runner there at third. Mets are still up 3-2 as we then head to the 7th. And then the 7th, we see here on the Metsy front, the top of the 7th at least, nothing else really transpires. A 1-2-3 inning of work there, sadly. Then we see in the bottom of the 7th here, this is where things get interesting for sure, a little spicy, if you will, that we see in the bottom of the 7th, because Alonso makes a great diving play. However, Danilo Nunez, who's now into relief pitch because Alex Young just got the couple outs, that was his outing. Nice first outing for the soft tossing southpaw in this bullpen. Yes, I want a flamethrower like you, and yes, I love for Jake Diekman to be reliable. However, we have yet to see that. We need to see that after a big outing like today, which is definitely encouraging. Don't get me wrong. Jeff says, he's very happy after tonight's game. So happy to hear that, Jeff. Love that. But speaking of the Mets here and speaking about this 3-2 victory, as we get back in this one, we see the Metsies here in the bottom of the 7th again. Alonso with a fantastic diving play to try to get the out there. I believe it was Trent Grisham. However, the little lollipop throw, normal catch that you would get from Danilo Nunez, doesn't secure the catch, just doesn't grip it at all. The ball drops out of his glove. A runner is safe there at first. So Nunez puts himself in an early jam here in the 7th. What does Nunez do from here? And this is a great example of why Danilo Nunez has been one of my favorite relievers to watch this season, and why he has gained the trust of most Mets fans now with how consistent and how reliable he has been for the Mets in various situations this season. It started from low leverage to now multi-innings eaten in high leverage situations even. Danilo Nunez has done what he has needed to do to get the job done. Grisham is safe there at first base and is a stolen base threat. A wild pitch then allows Grisham, funny enough, to get to second base, so it doesn't even matter there. Soto strikes out, a massive strikeout that we see there. Huge stuff by Danilo Nunez. Beautiful pitch. I want to say it was a slider there that was just beautifully placed that Soto swung through. Huge strikeout on Soto. Judge is then intentionally walked, which was a brilliant game plan again by the Mets in this one. 2-on-1 out to face Ben Rice, who's coming off the bench as a pinch hitter. The towering lefty first baseman, a guy that has been rolling for the Yanks since the call-up. He even had a 3-home run game doing his best Lindor against the Yanks impression that he did, I think, against the Reds a couple weeks ago, where my man Derek at NYY Recap shaved his head because he said he would. He tweeted if he hit a third home run, he'd do it. He did. Crazy stuff here in Craterland, but Ben Rice, big matchup here, 2-on-1 out. He comes in and try to pinch hit for J.D. Davis, but thankfully the J.D. Davis part wore off on him a little bit too much because he flies out. No one scores there, and then Volpe grounds out to end the inning. Bulldog outing there in the 7th by Danilo Nunez. How you doing? We love you, Danilo, and we love to see the success you've been having with that beautiful fastball, topping out in the high 90s, and that slide piece, which worked beautifully against Soto and that strikeout of an at-bat. We advance a little bit further here in this matchup, folks. We get to the top of the 8th. In the top of the 8th, Pete Alonso gets on with a single, his second hit of the day. Mark Vientos has himself a double. Marky V with his first hit of the day. Vientos, if he doesn't have an extra base hit, there's something wrong, because Vientos loves to go gap to gap, home run to home run. We got runners at second and third here early on in this matchup, in the 8th inning, I should say, and Jeff McNeil gets on with a walk, so the Mets have bases loaded here, less than 2 out, and somehow, someway, Tyrone Taylor strikes out to end it. This is the second terrible strikeout by Tyrone Taylor today. This, again, strands the bases loaded for a second time in this matchup. We then head to the top of the 9th, because in the bottom of the 8th inning, the Yankees thankfully don't convert anything. We see there in the 8th, if I didn't mention that already, again, fantastic work by the Mets to escape the jam that they found themselves in here, especially when we look at the work that we saw from Mr. Phil Maton was brilliant. Again, worked himself out of the little jam he had. Maton comes in for the bottom of the 8th. He does walk after 2 outs to the catcher in Austin Wells, but then a ground out there to DJ LeMahieu is easy work, and that does it. As we then head the top of the 9th, in the top of the 9th, Harrison Bader gets all the way to second base on a beautiful error by DJ LeMahieu. DJ, truly one of the... I'm sorry, I've been ragging on DJ a lot, but he's just not a good baseball player. He's completely washed, and I'll stand by that even if he has a big game tomorrow. He has a just over 500 OPS. He hasn't been able to stay healthy in years, unfortunately, but that was a contract that I knew would age like milk right away as soon as the Yankees signed it, and that's held true since then. DJ, with piss poor defense at the hot corner, lets the ball get past him. That gets Harrison to second base, but Harrison, again, being the silly man that he is, decides to try to steal third base, gets caught. Again, the pitcher doesn't even throw to second base. He just tosses it to third right away, and he's caught with ease. Like, what the hell are we doing here? Harrison, I love you. You have been electric for the Mets this year. You have been, in so many ways, what we have been hoping for that we didn't really know to expect heading into the season after an underwhelming, injury-riddled year with both the Yankees and the Reds in 2023. Harrison, we love you, buddy. Just have some competency with the base running. We know you can steal bags. You're currently on pace to have like 20-25 this year. That's awesome. But let's make sure we have competency with the base running as well. Situational awareness. It's a one-run ball game, Harrison. Why the hell are you running when you're already in scoring position? Huh? I'll leave it at that. I will leave it at that. Thankfully, Jake Diekman, again, crazy to say, thankfully, Jake Diekman came in and shut the door. He gets a huge fly out on Trent Grisham. He walks Juan Soto brilliantly. He strikes out Aaron Judge masterfully. And then he gets a huge final out on Ben Rice with a grounder. And that does it as the Metsies again go on to win by a final score of 3-2. Everybody, on a scale of 1 to 10 in the chat, what is your excitement level about the Metropolitans after tonight's victory? Yes, it was a far from sexy victory. It was a far from pretty pretty victory in the Bronx, but you take the first 3 out of 4 games this year against the Yankees, which is insane. So they already took the season series. The Mets are 4 games above 500 in a wild card spot. Nice spot right now with the Cardinals, Pirates having a tight game today. The Padres were balling out last time I checked. So things continue to trend upward. How are you guys feeling right now about the Metsies again, right? If we get to 5 games above 500 with a series sweep of a Subway Series matchup tomorrow, we're really riding high for a Mets team that, again, is still not playing at all their best baseball right now. We all know that. Their best baseball was easily what we saw back in in June. June was just amazing, a joyful June. We would like to see more baseball like that in June for sure. Where's Patrick Hesse for this? Pat will hopefully be with us tomorrow. Trust me, I wanted Pat here. Pat wanted to be here. I had the messages to even show you guys. Pat was talking shit early on too. However, work got in the way and he wasn't able to show up. Pat does not work the normal 9 to 5 hours. He is a full-time editor. I'm not even joking, literally, the Paul brothers, guys like Jake and Logan Paul, my boy Pat is literally like the right-hand man for them for a lot of their editing. So he's been very swamped with that as of late, and hopefully we'll be getting Pat back on the channel for Mets Yankees talk, and hopefully a Mets series sweep tomorrow, and we'll see what happens then. But everybody, we got a lot more to get into. We got roughly 500 concurrent viewers here on YouTube. Thank you all so much, each and every one of you. Continue to smash a like and subscribe button for your boy if you have it right. Thank you all so much in advance. To my Twitter viewers, same applies. Hit that like, hit that follow button, hit that retweet button. Make sure to subscribe here on the YouTube channel if you guys and gals have it right. Almost at 200 likes as well, so thank you guys and gals all so much for that too. You guys, again, really do mean the world. Pardon me. You guys truly do mean the world to me with your endless support here on the channel, as you guys have been each and every day here on the WardyNYM platform. But let's get back into breaking down this ball game. Let me close this tab because I definitely do not need this open. I want to highlight a couple things in this one for sure on the pitching end, a little bit on the offensive end, and we will wrap up the show with our nightly prospect report as we always do. However, before we get into anything else, I do want to talk to you guys and gals all just for, a hot couple minutes here about our amazing sponsor, because we did in fact hit, yes. If you guys tailed our pre-game bet with our amazing sponsor, our great friends at BetUS, then you came out winning money today. And I hope for your sake that you got involved and you certainly tailed the bet that we did tonight. Because all I did tonight, Mets fans, all I did for you all was simply the Mets spread of a bet. That's all I placed. That was it. Just Mets spread straight up, plus 134, plus 135 in that rate. Or no, that was a money line. The spread, I think, was very good too. The spread I hammered tonight, that was 40 to win me right around, I think, 17 or 18 or so. So I pretty much doubled my money with my bet that I placed tonight with our amazing friends at BetUS. And let's actually double check here if I can find my previous bets. I think I can. I don't know why I'm blanking on where to pull this up right now. If I can't find it, it's no worries. All right, let's go to my account. Hopefully it doesn't show too much freaking information that you guys need to see. Okay, let's see here. There we go. Let's see the wagers from the latest ones. Recent activity, and these are the ones today. Yep, wager 1, there we go. We placed 2 of them as well. I placed them one off air, and then I placed it again when we did our pregame show today. So again, guys, check it out. Make sure to do all your sports betting with our great friends at BetUS, who have you covered with all your sports betting needs. If you get involved today, you guys will now get a chance to get 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits. Get in on the action, win some money, especially when you're betting on your favorite teams. Every now and then, I don't do it too much because I'm not a biased bettor too often, because I know that usually that's not a recipe for success, especially if the team that you bet on that you're a fan of is not a good team, which was the case for the Mets for a good portion of the season. Not the case right now, though, so we're going to be riding high with our Metsies. Check them out with our great friends at BetUS to get in on all your sports betting needs. But to hop back in this one now, folks, Scott, thank you so much for the $2 haul. Scott says, how's Baby Shay doing? Baby Shay's doing fantastic. Thank you so much for asking. Yeah, Baby Shay's doing great. My girlfriend and I were actually just talking about how, we're figuring out when are we going to have the Shay debut on stream. It will happen. I don't know when, but it will happen at some point, so be on the lookout for when it does. If the Mets win tomorrow, gifting 5 memberships, I will definitely hold you to it, Daniel, and thank you so much in advance should that happen, brother. Daniel Caps has not only been a great member and supporter on the channel this year, but a lot of times when the Mets have been riding high, he has been riding high as a fan and has been beyond generous with donations and with gifting memberships to fellow Mets fans in the chat. So thank you, as always, for that, Daniel, you absolute beauty. But all right, guys and gals, let's get into a bit on the latest updates that I haven't spoken to you about in today's live show, and they are the following. Jackie Bradley Jr. has signed with the Mets on a minor league deal. If you guys want to know why did the Mets sign Jackie Bradley Jr., check out my video that I recorded earlier today on said topic. Simply put, JBJ adds outfield depth for the Mets to consider at the AAA level. JBJ was dominating at the independent ball level with the Long Island Ducks, so the Mets were seeing him do it right in their backyard, and they're like, you know what? We have your connection going back to your time in Milwaukee in 2021, that being i.e. David Stearns and Jackie Bradley Jr. Let's rekindle that relationship similar to what he did with Mike Brosseau at the AAA level earlier this year too, for an infield bat that definitely has been raking well at the AAA level at least, as a guy the Mets may consider if they absolutely need to for infield configuration at some point. But now enter Jackie Bradley Jr., an interesting outfield option, mainly defense for sure, to say the least, should he get any reps, but now enters a fold as a Ben Gamel type player for the Mets to ponder and consider if they absolutely need to, should you have continued injuries to your outfield right now with guys like Bader, Nimmo, and Taylor, without talking about a guy like Marte, who's ramping up. And speaking of Marte, was throwing at the park today for the Yankee Stadium. I'm tongue-tied right now. I apologize. At Yankee Stadium, Starling Marte was throwing on the field today, was continuing to ramp up and is looking better. And the same way that Sean Reed-Foley is starting to look better. SRF, one of the Mets' most reliable relievers so far this season, can eat multiple innings for you anytime out there. He will have his rehab assignment begin in Single A starting Thursday. So be on the lookout for that. Reed Garrett is looking to throw on a mound starting this weekend as he continues to ramp up after getting some much-needed rest to that elbow and to that arm throughout the All-Star break, as he's been on the injured list too. So more bullpen reinforcements are coming, and they're coming sooner rather than later. And on the Drew Gilbert front, this will be the only prospect update that I spoil before we get into them entirely. Drew Gilbert did have at least one hit today for AAA Syracuse. It was an infield dribbler, so it doesn't really mean much. But now rehabbing at the Syracuse level for Drew, once he gets in a rhythm, it's not a matter of if, but when he will be on the Mets roster, playing for the team, actually considered as an outfield option for them. And it may happen as soon as this season before we even get into postseason play, assuming that the Mets are right in the thick of things till the very end there. So now let's talk about the pitching, everybody. We talked about all the latest updates there. I want to really hammer how good the Mets pitching was today. And I cannot tell you how impressed I am enough with Jose Quintana. I know you're probably saying, Wardy, why are you impressed with Jose Quintana? That was a far from impressive outing from Jose, right? You know, he only won 5, gave up 1 earned run, yes, but walked 5 batters. What's the deal here? Well, the deal is Jose Quintana worked a lot of nice soft ground outs, worked out some serious early jams he found himself in too, and was able to make the smart play to walk Aaron Judge the way that he did. This is exactly the time where you give a guy Barry Bonds treatment. There is no reason. And Marte said he's close. That's awesome. Starling Marte saying he's close means that he's not going to have a long rehab, and that is huge. The bat might just be sluggish for a little bit. The legs obviously will be concerning defensively, but Marte being back sooner than later is definitely a positive, and I am looking forward to seeing that happening for the Metsies here. The same way that I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next for Jose Quintana, as Jose is going to be slotted for one more start at least until the trade deadline is here. So for Jose Quintana and a Mets team that now has an injury to their young right-hander and Christian Scott, you have to wonder, are they completely disregarding the idea of trading a Jose Quintana now this season, knowing how impactful he can still be, 1, and 2, knowing how thin rotation depth can become with an injury like Scott right now? Are you going to consider Budo to be moved back in the rotation? Should you go with a 6-man with Sengo starting this Friday? You know, the Mets have a lot of questions that they have to answer on that front. They may still seek external help. Cough, cough. They should really go out and get Eric Fetty. I know he may cost some assets, but yeah, got him under contract beyond 2024. I really will hammer that until he is not a New York Met post-trade deadline. But Jose Quintana, I got to say, an outing like this, worked his pitches beautifully well, really did what we needed from him. I would have liked, obviously, 6 drawn innings, but 5, I will take it. Funny enough, I went on a date with my girlfriend last year, Subway Series game. Shout out my man Dan, if you know, you know. Dan, who's a good friend of mine as well, who was a great hookup with, you know, many seats, was very generous for myself and others last year, and still is at Mets games. And we were at a Subway Series behind home plate last year, and what we saw transpire was Jose Quintana going again right around 6 innings of 2 earned run ball. Today, Jose Quintana, 5 innings of 1 earned run ball, 5 walks. I am going to go the lengths to give Jose Quintana, get ready for this, a 6.5 out of 10. That is a very high rating for me to give a guy who only went 5 innings and walked 5 batters. Because you guys, if you've been following the channel, you know how much walks piss me off for a Mets team that have been walking everyone their mother more than any other team this season. It's truly felt like and has been for a decent stretch. Quintana, however, was exactly what I was hoping to get out of him today. And because of that reason, I'm beyond pumped up to see what happens in his next and final start leading up to the trade deadline. Alberto, thank you so much with the $50 holla. Alberto Soto from the top rope. My goodness, Dre to Curry for 3. Bang! Oh my goodness. Alberto, thank you so much. This is for Baby Shay, says Alberto. LGM, Wardy, keep it up. You're the best Mets YouTuber channel. Not even close. Thank you so much for the kind words. That really does mean a lot, and I'm greatly appreciative of it. Alberto, let's get some hype and love in the chat for my man Alberto, showing some love with the big dono here for sure. Thank you so much for that, my man. Really does mean a lot, and my son will greatly appreciate that. That'll go right towards him, and that'll go right towards the formula. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Seriously, we'll never not appreciate something like that. Love you, brother. Greatly appreciate, my man. All right, now let's get back in and continuing to break down this ball game. You guys have been so nice with the donations tonight. Again, thank you so much for that. Alberto has money to burn. Must be nice, Zach, right? Must be nice. Oh, if only I had around $20 billion of net worth, you know, just to roll around and, all right, we're getting off topic here. Let's reel back in, everybody. This bullpen nails not named Adam Ottavino. Alex Young, nice little debut. And actually, let's pivot here. Let's talk about Alex Young for a minute, because Jose Quintana, we talked about him. Adam Ottavino, I'm not going to talk about him because you guys know what I'm going to say about Adam right now. But Alex Young, change up 40% of the arsenal, sat right around 85 today. Curveball, 30% of the arsenal, sat right around 80. Sinker sat right around 90. Worked those pitches well. Got the 100% whiff rate on that changeup when he threw it just a couple times, which again, we appreciate. Nice little start of a southpaw option to this Mets bullpen, that being an Alex Young. Danilo Nunez is an absolute bulldog. Slider, topped out 90, sat 89. Four-seam fastball, sat 96, topped out 98, and sinker that he only threw a couple times, topped out 94, and was actually only threw it once. So yeah, only threw the sinker once. Phil Maton, the cutter, 48% of the arsenal, topped out 91, sat 89. Curveball, 26% of the arsenal, topped out 77, sat 76. Sinker, 13% of the arsenal, topped out 88, sat 87. Sweeper, 13% of the arsenal, topped out 83, and sat 82. Great overall outing from Phil Maton to work all of his 4-pitch mix there. And hopefully for Maton, next time he's out there, we get a similar outing like this one. Huge outing, a 1-run ball game in the Bronx against the Yankees. Phil Maton feeling like he's still with the Houston Astros, getting quick work done against the New York Yankees. Here's a bit more. Having a great day. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Let's see. It's either Chiron or Charon. If it's one of those, awesome. If it's neither, I apologize. No less. Thank you so much for the $5 holla. I'm glad it's been a great day for you, my man. I hope that continues into the coming days going forward. Thank you so much for donating and being a part of the community here at the WardyNYM platform. We're all over 200 likes. Thank you guys so much for that. Help us get to 300 by the end of the live show. To my roughly 400 concurrent live viewers, you guys are all so amazing. This bullpen was absolutely nails and not named Adam Ottavino today, and we certainly appreciate that. Now again, the Metsies looking good here, and they're going to get those reinforcements back sooner rather than later. But you know what I would have loved to see from the Mets today? I definitely would have loved to see more on the offensive end. And on the offensive end, the Mets were absolutely brutal. In tonight's matchup, they were, last time I checked, they were 2 for 8 with runners in scoring position. Let's see what the final game outcome was. The Mets' final line was 2 for 10 with runners in scoring position. They left 8 on base. Thankfully, the Yankees were just a bit worse. They were 1 for 9. They left 11 on base. And who was the Yankees' worst batter tonight? Drum roll, please. J.D. Davis. Okay, speaking of the Mets here, let's go through the lineup as follows. Again, in leadoff, we had Mr. Francisco Lindor, 1 for 4 with the double and an RBI thanks to the hit by pitch. 256 average and an 800 OPS. Finally, an 800 OPS for Francisco Lindor. Brandon Nimmo, 0 for 5. Bad day at the plate for Brandon. 1 strikeout. Lindor had 2. 239 average, 787 OPS. JD Martinez, nothing to show for it. A pair of strikeouts, 0 for 4. 260 average, 782 OPS. Would be nice to see JDM wake up in the Bronx, a ballpark that he knows very, very well during his time with the Red Sox, tomorrow before the series conclusion. Pete Alonso, nice day for Pete. Got to give credit where credit's due. 2 for 4 with a run scored and a double. 244 average, 775 OPS on the season. Vientos with a double that we saw there and a strikeout. 291 average, 885 for my and your third baseman. And we're going to talk about third baseman Brett Baty here in just a minute, folks. But before we do, let's talk about Jeff McNeil, as he has yet another multi-hit game and yet another home run galore game. Jeff McNeil now is up to 225 on the average, but 640 on the OPS. That power is carrying him right now, and McNeil is going to be at 700 OPS before he knows it, should these extra base hits continue. Luis Torrens, 1 for 3 today, that he got on base a couple times and struck out. 276 average and 846 OPS on the season there for Mr. Luis Torrens. Tyrone Taylor, 1 for 4, but some bad strikeouts and, situations where you definitely want to hit well. 223 average, 648 OPS, 3 Ks on the day. Harrison Bader, 0 for 4, because he got on base with the error by DJ, and then was out base running and a strikeout. 263 average, 703 OPS. The Mets out-hit the Yankees 8-5. However, they did not have they had a luck the way the Yankees didn't. The Mets' expected batting average was a measly 216 today. Mind you, they did nothing against Luis Gil in their first 4 or 5 innings, obviously. And then 276 expected batting average for the Yankees. So Mets had luck on their side tonight. Yankees not so much. And hey, we are not going to complain about that, because the Yankees had plenty of hiccups today that the Mets were, didn't even really take advantage of, but just did enough of the little things. And for the Yankees, the Mets, again, had stuff on a silver platter, yet they were not able to pounce whatsoever today. But you know who was able to pounce? And it's great that you bring this up, Madman621 in the chat. It's Mr. Brett the Met Baty. It is Brett Bonds Baty. It is Brett Bonds. It is Barry Baty. Whatever you want to call it. Let's talk about the latest on the prospect end, everybody. And then we're going to wrap up this beautiful live show. Don't worry, folks. We will be having live callers back on the channel soon. I don't have a distinct day yet. However, it will be happening in the near future, so be on the lookout for it. Will not be happening tonight, but will be happening again sooner rather than later. But let's look at the Mets farm report tonight, because when we take a look at the Syracuse Mets, they had a high-scoring game, and we saw Drew Gilbert get involved. But how did everyone else do? How did Brett Baty fare tonight? Let's get into it and find out what exactly transpired and said matchups here, shall we? The Metsies lost 7-6 in extra innings, believe it or not. They had 8 hits, out-hit the Buffalo Bisons, the Toronto Blue Jays affiliate, by at least a couple hits there. So let's see who stood out on the offensive end. Luis Angel Acuna, 0 for 5, 263 average, 671 OPS, 3 strikeouts. Unless Acuna really balls out and the Mets continue to have major problems with Jeff McNeil and Jose Iglesias can't help enough, Luis Angel Acuna is a guy that went from looking like a sure guarantee to be given an opportunity to succeed at some point this year at the bigs. Now looks like it's simply not going to happen unless it really needs to happen. We also look Brett Baty, 4 for 5, a monstrous day in AAA for Brett the Met Baty. 3 runs scored thanks to 3 RBIs, including not 1, but 2 home runs. Brett Baty already now has 7 home runs. Pardon me, not even 7. Baty has 11 home runs. He has 7 doubles. He had 2 doubles today. He had 2 home runs, 4 extra base hits for Brett the effing Met. Baty now up to a 289 average and a 963 OPS on the season. Baty, you got to wonder, what are the Mets going to do with him? Are they going to continue to roll with him and maybe give him an opportunity post-trade deadline? Are they going to trade him at the trade deadline for some assets? What are they going to do with Brett Baty? Because right now, he's doing everything you want at the AAA level. He's shown those slivers of success at the MLB level, but not nearly consistently enough. The way that Mark Vientos has played himself into not even being just an everyday player, but being one of the most important bats and overall players in the Mets lineup every single day out there. And when we look at the rest of the production from the Metsies today, we saw Luke Ritter went 0 for 2 with a run scored, a couple walks. We see Drew Gilbert went 1 for 5, which again isn't terrible. Nothing else really there on the offensive end besides Mr. Porter, who the Mets signed today. Porter, a catching option who is batting right around 300 with 1,000 OPS at AAA. Basically doing that for the Mets tonight. 1 for 4 with a run scored there and an RBI. Porter comes in as the corresponding move with who I'm trying to think who was the corresponding move. Was it Cole Sulzer? I think, was it Cole Sulzer? Yeah, it was Cole Sulzer was DFA'd by the Mets yesterday when he's been great in AAA. MLB numbers aren't so favorable, however. But in the case here of Drew Gilbert, Awesome to see the continued production there as he's ramping up in his rehab. And for the case of everyone else there at the AAA level, nothing else I really feel like I need to make note of. On the pitching end, Blake Tidwell with another not so great outing. He gave up 3 earned runs over 4 innings. He allowed 4 runs total, 3 earned, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. So nice little strikeout day for Blake Tidwell, but still trying to find himself at the AAA level. Max Kranick pitched 1.1 scoreless. Eric Orzi pitched 2 scoreless. So definitely like to see that for sure. But now let's get into the Rumble Ponies, everybody, and let's see what happened there for sure. Give Brett Beatty a chance. I wouldn't even be opposed to giving Beatty reps at second base when Jose Iglesias isn't playing there. Well, McNeil now swinging the bat the way he is, you can't justify saying, all right, we got to take Jeff out. This is what the Mets have been longing for with Jeff all season long. They've been looking for production. Doesn't really matter what kind of production as long as they are getting production. Here to review this game. I know, FCT, I know. We're going to try to get him tomorrow. Sadly, he was busy with work tonight, but we're going to try tomorrow, hopefully, to get him in here. The Rumble Ponies did lose 8-4 to the Flying Squirrel, so they lost to a bunch of Jeff McNeils tonight, unfortunately. Alex Ramirez, 2 for 4 with 2 runs scored. Nice stuff there from Ramirez. There on the offensive end, Kevin Parada with 2 for 4 with an RBI. I'll gladly take that. Parada, 225 average, right around a 700 OPS at AAA. And Alex Ramirez, 236 with a 657. Unfortunately, a lot of offense just feels like it tends to go to die at times with either the Rumble Ponies or the Cyclones. I could be wrong in saying that, but I actually think I am. It's more so with the Cyclones, I think, the Rumble Ponies, truthfully. The Rumble Ponies have had a lot of big boppers the past couple years with Vientos, Beatty, Alvarez, Mauricio, just to name a few. And now let's hop into the Cyclones. Let's see what they got on their box score tonight. Anything notable from Brooklyn? Let's take a looky here, folks. And again, thank you all so much, everyone that's been chiming in. We got roughly 1,700 concurrent viewers live here on YouTube and on Twitter. Thank you all so much for taking the time, as the Brooklyn Cyclones tonight did secure the victory here for the Mets farm. They won by a final score of 3-1, awfully close to the Metsies, winning 3-2. And Nick Morabito, my man, 2 for 3 in the leadoff spot at center field with a run scored and an RBI. 280 average, 710 OPS. I love Nick Morabito. He has quickly become one of my favorite outfield options for the Mets to consider in the farm this season. And Morabito, who was a second-round draft pick, I believe, by the Mets a couple years ago, balling out. Great contact hitting year for Morabito. Clearly looking like a nice leadoff hitter there this season for them. Now let's cap things off with the Port St. Lucie Mets before we wrap things up, everybody. And again, I will be back here tomorrow. Pre-game, post-game. Be there at B Square, baby. And we might just take callers. And you know what? Tomorrow might be a time to take callers. We'll see. Josh, have a great night. Thank you so much for being in here, my man. Hope all is fantastic on your front. Have a great rest of your evening, okay? But on the Brooklyn Cyclones front, let's see what happened there. They did lose 4-3 to the Cardinals. That's because Jake DeGrom was not pitching against the Port St. Louis, not Port St. Lucie, but the Cardinals here. If you guys remember when Jake had to do all those rehab assignments, and the Cardinals socials would always tweet, shit, here we go again, as they get absolutely carved up by Jake. And man, oh man, I'm just slipping into a depression thinking about Jacob deGrom right now. I digress. We talk about the Rumble Ponies. Not Rumble Ponies, the Cyclones, actually. 1 for 4 is first-round draft pick from a year ago. Infielder shortstop Colin Houck with 3 strikeouts today, 213 average, 619 OPS. Willie Fanas, 1 for 4 with a run score, international prospect signing a couple years ago. Not too great there, however, on the production so far this year. And nothing else to really note there on the prospect front, folks. So that does it. Key takeaways today. We liked what we saw from Brett Beatty. Drew Gilbert got himself a hit at the AAA level as he's continuing to do well in his rehab. And that's really Nick Morabito. Happy with that for sure, too. But that's all she wrote, folks. Thank you all so much for watching. If you couldn't tell, I'm pretty shot. It's been a long day on my end, especially as a new dad of just over a month or so. Definitely have these nights are starting to catch up a little bit for sure, and I still got some stuff to do this evening. So that's going to do it for me, everybody. The Metsies win an awesome one by a final score of 3-2. They look to continue their winning ways and to make it 5 games above 500, and hopefully a full season series sweep of the New York Yankees. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Until then, have a amazing rest of your night, day, evening, whenever you're watching this. Thank you all so much for the support. Let's go Mets, baby. And we'll talk again real soon. Peace out, folks.